Hello everybody. Another day, another new YAB application. Quick recap, about 2 weeks ago, you remember I saw this message, somebody looking to see the size of screen elements. And so yeah, I thought I can write that. I can write a ruler. So let's say you want to know the dimensions of this box. Right? Just the lines, not the text that's displayed. Well, I wrote this ruler, and you can just move it across and down. Okay, and now there, and okay, so that is 160 something pixels. What do you think? 163, 164, 165, somewhere around there? And I thought, can't we have something a little more precise? And then Humdinger made a suggestion, which I thought was good, about measuring it in a graphics app. Take a screenshot, load it into a graphics app, and measure it in there. And I thought, but can't I write a little app that'll do that in one go? So I did. Called Sizer. So how this works, you got your sliders, which you can use to change the dimensions and the position of this little red square. Technically a rectangle, I suppose. And you move it directly over and then fine-tune it with the cursor keys for the position and with home end, page up and page down for the dimensions, until it's exactly over that. And now we can see it is 164 by 140. You can read it in the tab or in this little black square, which also tells you 704 by 254. That's the starting point, the top left corner. So I thought, yeah, that is a little more precise. You want to measure another element, you can press R and there we go. And it will revert to the starting position, and you can press Q to quit. Okay, let's have a look at the code for that. Right, so I start by determining the size of my screen. And that is easily enough done. Then I set up all these global variables, and I set up my two windows. And yes, this little red square is a window. Alright, so I've got my main window and I've got my sizer window. Let's move this out of the way, and let's move that out of the way, and I can move them around with these sliders. Now this slider is a bit counterintuitive at the moment, but if I have it upside down, right, with the lower number on the top and the higher number at the bottom, then it'll be different from this one. And so that was a trade-off. Do I make the movement a bit more intuitive, or do I have a similar effect on both of the sliders? Because these two at the top have the higher number on the right. So should I have the lower number at the top here? That would also make it a little difficult to calculate the position that I print in here. So I've decided not to go with that. I think the user will figure it out when they see the red square moving. So 99% of your YAB programs will just be one window, but here we see we don't need to send messages between different apps, as we did see with the ping pong example. We can just have two windows, and the one window determines where the other one will be placed. Right, and so all of this here is my main window. And the thing is that I found that I was referencing the other window, the secondary window in this code, and so it had to be defined first. And started out with it being the other way, but I just moved it up. Just one of those things. So you can see I define all four of my sliders, and I've got a text edit in which I put my help, and we'll get back to that. Then you got your main loop, one big while went, and here the interesting thing is that I'm actually now testing in my main loop for two different kinds of input. First there are the sliders, and then there are the keystrokes. So, the very first thing is test for this little closing widget, which is this one. Then we get the horizontal slider, so that's this one here, and that one there. And if that has changed, I then say, okay, then move this window. Right? Move to, there we go. And since I have since I move to a vertical and horizontal position in the same breath, I only have to do that once. That did not work out with the dimensions. That was a bit more complicated. And while here I just fed the slider position into a variable, here that gave me so much trouble that I just decided, I'll just measure the size of the red rectangle every time, and then feed it back into where we need to resize the red rectangle to. Right, so it's always going to resize to the right and to the bottom. It will never resize up. Technically you can do that, but I prefer not to do that. Okay, then once again I set changes to 1. Come to think of it, there should be another line like this at the bottom here. Oh, let's do that now. Oh, no, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, so then I wait for 1/20th of a second and just let things settle down a little bit. And then finally, I start looking for key strings. Now, I could have moved things up, right? If I see that the user has pressed the up cursor key, then I could have just moved the window up by 1 pixel. But I already had this code here, so why bother? Just change the slider by 1 pixel. And then when you come up to the top of the main loop again, it'll say, hey, that has changed by 1 pixel. And then it'll move it by 1 pixel. And so that is what happens here. Okay, so then there's a little thing called draw results, which is just print the latest information in this little black square and in the yellow tab as well. Why not? Then finally, I've got some data here, which is my help text over here. Now, I could have just written that into a text file and read that into the text edit, the non-editable text edit. I've just got this thing though that I like to have my applications be as self-contained as possible. And so I like to use data for that. Here is an end of data marker. This is just the one I always use, but could have been anything really. And so now if I want to change this data, I don't have to worry about how many lines of data there are, because that's taken care of over here. While help text is unequal to end of data, read it, help text, and if it's not end of data, then add it to this text edit field. And that's all there is to it, really. I'm not quite ready to release this yet. Still a couple of problems with it. First of all, I had to put in some wait states because I was trying to read the dimensions of the red rectangle before it had finished redrawing. And so I was getting really weird results there, and it slowed me down for hours and hours. And so if you see that I keep saying wait another 50th of a second, that's what that is for. Then finally you will have seen changes equals 1 and changes equals 0. That's to reduce the amount of flickering that you get here. There's always going to be some, but I'm still working on reducing that even further. But now, what happens if I change this screen dimensions? This will continue to read 1280, and this will continue to read 768. So what still needs to be done here is that it needs to reread the screen dimensions from time to time. Same as if I move it to another workspace with a different set of numbers. Right, so if I move this to an 800 by 600 workspace, then the maximum should be 800. The maximum here should be 600. The final problem that I've got here is that it's possible to move this thing off screen completely. So I need to put in a few lines to make it bounce back. So it doesn't get any further than about there. So maybe you'll see this again in version 2. And when I've got that done, I'll be able to release it. Thanks for watching.